and he played a chord, all black keys, F sharp, A sharp, C sharp, added an E, and so unmasked the chord, which had looked like F sharp major, as belonging to B major as its dominant. Such a chord, he said, has of itself no tonality. Everything is relation, and the relation forms the circle. The A, which, forcing the resolution into G sharp, leads over from B major to E major, led him on, and so via the keys of A, D, and G, he came to C major and to the flat keys, as he demonstrated to me that on each one of the 12 notes of the chromatic scale, one could build a fresh major or minor scale. So that is a lot of jargon thrown at you all at once, but the concept is actually easier than it might at first seem. He's talking about what's called in music theory terms the circle of fifths. So to begin with, I'm going to stop talking for the time being and just do on the keyboard the things that Adrian Leverkühn does in the excerpt. So while I play, just listen for the feeling of home or rightness in the first chord that I play, and then by adding the new note, it adds a feeling of movement, of needing to go somewhere. And then when the final chord comes along, then you have the feeling of resolution. Okay, so let's see what's really going on here. To begin with, it says that he played F sharp, A sharp, and C sharp, all black notes. Now this is the home chord of the key of F sharp major. Each musical key has 3 notes that are the most important notes within that key, and playing those gives the listener a sense of home. So even without knowing any music theory at all, if you hear those 3 notes, then your ear automatically knows that this is the place where the piece belongs. And so every time we move away from those notes within a piece, then we're creating more or less a feeling of tension, and our inner ear is waiting for us to return back to the home key again. For example, here are the home notes of C major, and then we'll add some tension. Wait for it. And so here we are at home again. And that's one of the things that makes music work. It's made up of this tension release. It's one of those magical things that make music work. So to return to F sharp major, these 3 black notes, when we play these 3 notes, we're firmly in that key. So now if we add an E, as Adrian says in the book, so what's happened? What we've got here is a sense of unrest and of movement. And what we've done actually is turn this home chord of F sharp major into a thing that's called a dominant 7th chord. Now never mind what that is because it's too complicated for our purposes. But what it does is it makes this chord now not belong to F sharp major anymore, but to B major. So we go F sharp major, dominant 7th chord, and then B major. Now if we were to play the first 2 chords and go anywhere else, it would disappoint our ears, because it really wants to go to B major because that's where it belongs. So if we play our F sharp major chord again, dominant 7th, and then something random like D major, whoops. So what Adrian does here then is cycle through a pattern of chords, turning each home chord into a new dominant 7th chord and resolving to the new key. Okay, so now we reach the amazing thing. 2 amazing things actually. First of all, it happens that the key of F sharp major has 6 sharps in it, so lots of black notes. And then when you make the dominant 7th and resolve it inevitably to B major, well, B major has 5 sharps. So from 6 sharps to 5 sharps, okay? So also the other amazing thing is, see, here's F sharp, or we can make it F for these purposes, it's the same thing. Now the B which we're resolving to is 5 notes down. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So, okay, that's not terribly fascinating at the moment, but just wait. So the amazing thing that I'm getting at is that this sets up a pattern. So, just to demonstrate, we start on F sharp major again, the key with 6 sharps. Then we resolve down to B major, which has 5 sharps, and is 5 notes down from F sharp, as I just showed you. And now we make this the dominant 7th, add the A. Resolve to E major. And E major has 4 sharps, and what's more, the note of E is 5 notes down from the note of B. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Now when you have 2 notes that are 5 notes apart, like this, then that's called a fifth. And remember that we're looking at the circle of fifths here. So far we've seen us resolve from F sharp major through to B major through to E major. So from 6 sharps to 5 sharps to 4 sharps, and all a fifth down from each other. So the pattern just continues. From E major, we have the dominant 7th chord, and then we resolve to A major. And I'll just move our A major chord. This is still A major, which has 3 sharps and is a fifth down from E. We make it a dominant 7th and resolve to D major, which has 2 sharps and is a fifth down from A. And then we go back to D major here, make it a dominant 7th and resolve to G major, which has 1 sharp and is a fifth down from D. So you can see the pattern just keeps on going. And so we do G major, make it a dominant 7th, C major. Now C major has no sharps or flats. So everything is a fifth down from the one before it, and everything has 1 less sharp than the one before it. So that's all pretty incredible. But if you're following along in the excerpt from the book, you'll see how it says, and so on to the flat keys. So that just means that we don't stop at C major where we had just ended up, but we keep going. So if we play C major here, and then turn it into a dominant 7th, we're resolving into F major. And F major is a key that has 1 flat. So we've gone through all the sharp keys, and then we've gone to C, which has neither, and now we have the first of the flat keys. So if we go to F major, the one with 1 flat, make it a dominant 7th. Now we're in the key of B flat major, which has 2 flats, and so on. So we go back to B flat major, resolve, and now we're in E flat major, which has 3 flats. And this continues all the way down to the key of G flat major, which has 6 flats. So this whole pattern illustrates one of the points that I think Thomas Mann is making here, which is that nothing stands alone and everything relates to something else, and every resolution can be made into a new point of change. So I think he's saying basically that without relativity there's nothing. One thing I didn't mention before, because I'm not wanting to confuse you too much, so consider this to be a kind of appendix on the end, is that the key with 6 flats, G flat major, is actually using exactly the same notes as F sharp major. We just call these notes by different names. It's confusing, I know, but essentially what it means is that once you get cycled through to G flat major, you're just starting the whole circle again, and there's actually no end point at all. So this is F sharp major, and it is also G flat major. Thanks for listening.